So what is the general idea behind staffing business? Let me tell you the way staffing business works. So make a picture in your mind. At the top there is a box which is called as end client. Under that there is implementation partner. Under that there is a vendor, okay, preferred vendor basically. Under that is us, sub vendor, okay, that is us. Under us is a person, consultant who provides services. So you see this 5-point hierarchy. When end client like a Dell, like Microsoft, like any company here, Cisco, Intel, any company in America, when they need people, they have two options. One is they go for permanent people, that is they get them jobs. They give direct jobs to them. Many times because of the rules and regulations in this country, they would give contract jobs. Let's say they need someone for just 1.5 years. Let's say they need a Java programmer. They don't need to hire him on a full-time basis. And because of rules and because of their need, they would simply go for, they will basically put out a contract for Java programmer for 1.5 years. It'll be a simple, same thing as job. He'll be doing exactly 40-hour a week. He'll be paid $70, $80 an hour, whatever. We'll get to that. He'll be paid a very good salary. So it's like a job, right? So they will not, but the way they work is they don't go out in that market directly and ask for people. I'll ask for temporary workers. Okay, temporary IT workers. They can go for a temporary IT, they can go for temporary plumbing persons, temporary electrician, but we only deal with temporary IT people. Hospitals source temporary nurses also, and so on and so forth. But we go for only temporary IT people, right? So Java programmers, .NET programmers, MuleSoft programmers, business analysts, project managers, QA analysts, all these jobs. Okay. So when Cisco needs or Intel needs 2 Java programmers, 3 Java programmers, we don't care what they need it for, simply they need for 1 year, they would not go directly in the market. They'll ask the implementation partner, hey, can you do it for us? Implementation partners are nothing but very big companies with their vendor companies, and they either source candidates. These implementation partners, some of these are so big, or these Cisco, etc., they have empaneled preferred vendors. They're vendors who basically they prefer. They don't go out in the market and they don't go out and the market and ask for every company also. There is a specific set of companies, typically like, for example, IBM has 11 vendors. So they will go to one of those, all those vendors and tell them, so there is a portal where they will enter, and those 11 vendors have the access to that portal. And they'll say, okay, we need a person. We need a Java programmer for 1 year, for example. And then those vendors are the ones who will go out in the market and find people. So vendors also have two choices. Sometimes the people they find, sometimes they have people on their payroll. Sometimes they find people from the market. When they find people from the market, they have two choices. They can put them on their payroll. That is, they can make them their employee, right? Or they can sign a contract with the candidate, right? Or they can have a contract with the company who that person works for, right? Basically, sub-vendor. So sometimes they go directly to the sub-vendors or vendors. Sometimes they go to an implementation partner. Implementation partner, nothing but a very big company which is a vendor, and they basically have their own. Sometimes, so mostly this implementation partner, then they have the same thing. They have either people on their employee as their employee, though they provide those people, or they have, they will take people on contract. When these are big implementation partners, right? So when they want, like these big implementation partner examples are TCS, Infosys, HCL, etc. Okay, so when they need people, they go for these big vendors. They go for big implementation partners. They also have a panel of vendors, 10, 20, 30 vendors, not more than that. So you cannot become a vendor of theirs just like that. Making sense? So they have these vendor companies, and then these vendor companies again do the same thing. They either have the people on their own payroll, or they find someone temporarily from the market, or they find something from the market, or they find someone from on a corp to corp basis, a company to company basis, a contract. So they'll sign a contract with a sub vendor who has the people working with them. Making sense? So very rarely these vendors would be having someone working with them already. So that is very rare. They will typically go for a contract which they call as W2 contract directly with the candidate, or they will go through a sub-vendor company. Making sense? That sub-vendor company will be having that person on their payroll, right? So we are sub-vendors mostly. In most of the business models, we are sub-vendors. We have people working on our payroll. We have about 30-40 people, and then we have to make sure they place. Okay, we'll get into business models now. This is the highest level perspective that you should remember, that there are end clients who have temporary positions. They either go to vendors or implementation partners. When they go to implementation partners either they have people on their own payroll, or they go to their vendors, and then those vendors, either they have people, very rarely they have people on their payroll, but right, if they do, great. If they don't, then they go to sub vendors or direct to the candidates. If the candidate is having green card or citizenship or H4EAD or GCAD, they will work directly with the vendor. If they don't have any of these things, if they are on H1 visa or student visa, then vendors don't deal with them. Then vendors go to sub vendors, and sub vendors have these people on their payroll because there are visa issues and all. So sub vendors basically hold their H1 visa or OPT CPT or OPT CPT visa. So this is pretty much the hierarchy, and then how it is related to the visa issues. So when students are there, they have only one choice, because end clients won't hire them. It's very rare. Then they have to go to either implementation partner. Again, implementation partner may hire them directly on their payroll. Remember, implementation partner are those people who have a lot of people on their payroll. TCS has a lot of people. If they don't hire them, then they have no choice. Vendors don't hire them, right? They will have to go to us, sub vendors, and then they work with us. So that's how this. So this is one cycle you should always remember: end client versus implementation partner versus vendor versus sub vendor versus the candidate or consultant. We call them either consultant or candidate. Okay, the candidate has no, if he's on H1 or he's on something, very rarely he will get the direct end client job. Sometimes he gets the direct implementation partner jobs, but implementation partners don't pay them well, and that's the reason they would rather than go with sub vendor. Vendors don't hire them. They'll go with sub vendor, and sub vendor will basically give them typically very good salaries, and then they will keep them, right? So that's the reason people would go with sub vendors. Okay, so H1 people go with sub vendor, and there are so many other reasons, and that's your sales pitch for H1 H2 people. Will tell you what H1 H2 is, right? So this is the main perspective that you should remember.